everyone always asks, right, is like, what is Bitcoin, right? Mm-hmm. So to start, well, you just start by talking about like why it exists, okay? So it exists essentially to like fight back against inflation, okay? Inflation is the government and the banks printing more dollars, okay? So they're the only ones that have the power to do that. We have no say in that. And when they print more dollars, they make our dollars worth less, okay? You can see it in like the price of houses, like purchasing houses, how much more expensive it is. They're going up in price because there's more and more dollars being introduced, okay? And each house represents like a tiny percentage of all of the dollars in the world, essentially, okay?
Right.
So inflation, that's the main reason. The reason why how Bitcoin fights back against that is Bitcoin is basically the first money where nobody is in control of it. Mm-hmm. Okay, so nobody has the ability to print anymore. We agreed there's going to be 21 million Bitcoin, period. That's it. There's not going to be any more. And the only way to guarantee that there's not going to be any more is to make sure that there's no person that's in charge of it. Because then eventually, you know, you'll have somebody that gets in there that either thinks they're doing the right thing or is evil and wants to manipulate the money and be able to create it for themselves whenever they want, and they'll just change the rules whenever they want, okay?
Right.
So Bitcoin ensures there's only going to be 21 million by making it so that no one is in control of it. So the question is, how does Bitcoin make sure that no person controls it?
Right.
Okay? So this is the term you'll hear all the time, decentralization. Decentralization, right? There is no center to Bitcoin. So for example, you have your money in Chase, like this is Chase, right? Okay, and this is you, right? And this is your money, okay? So basically, you give all of your money to Chase, right? And it's sitting in their bank account. And then whenever you swipe your card, you pay Trader Joe's or whatever, right? So here's Trader Joe's over here, right? Chase goes, okay, yeah, Mason, I see you have enough money. We're gonna go ahead and give that over to Trader Joe's. And it's not even really Trader Joe's, right? It's like Trader Joe's bank, right? Trader Joe's Chase account.
Right.
Okay. So now, if the government doesn't like you for whatever reason, okay, any reason, right? They can go to Chase. Hey, Chase, I know you have all of Mason's money. Mm-hmm. Give it to me, or don't let Mason have it.
Okay. Without any, are there any rules on this?
Well, the government makes the laws, right? So I mean, like, you know, if you're a criminal, right, and they find out you're doing something illegal, they seize your money, right? So that means literally they go to Chase and go, hey, Chase, I know you got it. You know, go ahead and give it to me. You know, so this is centralization. This is all of your money in this one group. So the government can come after that group and go, okay, yeah, this is who we're going to go after if we want your money, right?
Right.
So so you don't want that, right? You don't want the government to have the ability to take your money.
Right.
Okay. So. But the problem here is that with the banks, you need someone to verify, like, you know, if this is, you know, you and me, right? And you're like, hey, I'm going to buy this car from you, you know? And I'm like, okay, the car costs, you know, $10,000. The bank is in the middle, right? And the bank is going, okay, Mike, yeah, Mason sent me the $10,000. You're good.
Right.
And I go, okay, cool, thanks, bank, right? So I need somebody needs to make sure that when you say you're going to pay me, you actually have the money.
Right.
Okay? So what Bitcoin does is, instead of having this bank in the middle, Bitcoin basically takes this job and it creates a competition. Okay? The competition is anybody who can guess the password. Okay? It's a really long password. Anybody who can guess the password, you will have the privilege of taking that transaction, making sure that there's money there, and giving it to me. Okay? You're gonna have that privilege. Okay? That way, it's not just fucking Chase that always makes that decision. Okay? So the competition, anybody can compete. Okay? You can buy a mining computer. That's where mining comes in. You can buy a mining computer and you can plug it into your house, and all of a sudden your computer is competing and guessing the password. Okay? So you have all these people constantly competing. Okay? Every 10 minutes, they're competing for that privilege that Chase normally would have, which would come at a cost, come at the government being able to take your shit, or Chase printing money whenever they want. So all these people compete, and like, okay, this person won the competition, so they get to count those transactions in those 10 minutes and they get paid for it. Okay, next competition, everyone's competing again. The odds of this person winning again are very, very, very low. Okay?
Okay.
The password that they're trying to guess is so long that there are millions of mining computers guessing, I think, like quadrillions of times per second.
Wow.
It takes them 10 minutes. Okay? So that's how many guesses. There's no method of trying to figure out what the password is. There's no rhyme or reason. There's no like, oh, if I knew what the password was last time, I know what's going to be next time. It's completely random. The only way to do it is to have computers that are guessing.
Wow.
All the time. Okay? It's competition.
For the full password. Do you know if you have half the password?
No.
Okay.
No. You guess the full password, and then basically you go, is it this? 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 And then finally, when you have the right one, Bitcoin system goes, yup, that's it, you know? And then all the rest of these miners, they go, hey, let me see. And they go, okay, yeah, that one does work, okay? So that's the first thing. Instead of trusting Chase to manage all of these transactions for us, okay? Instead, we're breaking that up. We're decentralizing it, okay?
Right.
So now no one particular person controls it. So now if the bank wants to go, hey, I want to make sure this next transaction doesn't go through, they can't just go to Chase. They can't. They don't know who's going to be in charge of the next transaction anyway. And even if they got to one of these and they shut it down, you still have all these other people competing and keeping the system going.
Okay.
Okay, so that's mining. Okay, that's where mining comes in. The other thing that keeps it decentralized are things called nodes. Okay, nodes keep a copy of all of the transactions that have ever taken place in Bitcoin. Forever, right? So when you go to Chase, you know, and you have your bank account with Chase, all you see is you only see your list of transactions. Right. You can't see anybody else's, right? So you don't know how much money I have in my account. You don't know where I'm spending my money in my account. You don't even really know how many dollars in general there are in the world, okay? You only see yours. Chase has all of them, right? So technically, Chase can go like, well, you know, why don't I just create this other account for my friend, you know, Mike over here, and I'm just gonna fucking load him up with a bunch of zeros. I'm gonna put a bunch of zeros in his bank account. They can do that, no problem. That's literally how they create dollars. Okay, they're not like printing cash out of a printer.
Right, they're just adding.
They're just going like, oh, this account, oh yeah, okay, that's what they do basically. Okay, so but we can't see all of the accounts that they have, so there's no way for us to know for sure whether if they're doing this or not.
As people, you're saying?
Yeah, as people, right? The bank, we don't see all of their records.
Right.
Okay? So with Bitcoin instead, this record gets copied. And all of these people, right? So we're going to change. These are now a record of all of the transactions that ever took place, okay? So
these
whenever...
people.
Yeah, these are people here. Nodes, these are nodes. So what happens is, whenever there's more transactions, everybody gets updated. So all of these nodes constantly have a copy of all of the transactions. Okay? They have a copy of all the transactions. So if somebody tried to cheat, right, and say like, oh, no, like, you know, this isn't the right copy. Like, actually, my account has 20 Bitcoin in it, you know? Then the rest of these nodes would go, no, that's not what I have. 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 And the system would continue running on the majority. Okay? There are tens of thousands of these nodes now. Okay? So the idea is, you know, if you have this in one place, right? The record in just one place at the bank.
Right.
The government could basically even go in there and be like, you know what? We're actually going to change this shit. You know, why don't we just put some numbers around, move them around over here or over there, okay? But with all of these nodes maintaining the records, in order for the bank or anybody to do that, to manipulate the accounts, they would have to hack all of these nodes.
How's the node kept? Is it like, is it just data? Is it like can you find the sheet somewhere that has all of these transactions on it?
Yes. So, you know what a ledger is?
Yeah, I know the idea of a ledger, sure.
Yeah, it's basically like your bank statement, right?
Okay.
It's like, okay, the amount of money you have in your bank account is how much money has gone in and how much money has come out, okay?
Right.
And that's a ledger, essentially. Essentially, it's like how much has come in, how much has come out, okay?
Okay.
Again, with the current system, you're the only one. You can only see your ledger. You can't see anybody else's,
right?
Okay? Now, With Bitcoin, that's what the blockchain is. The blockchain is the ledger. Okay? The blockchain is basically the history of all the transactions that have ever taken place. So any fraction of a Bitcoin, you can trace it all the way back to when it was first born.
Really?
Yes.
So any particular Bitcoin has a way to trace that particular Bitcoin?
Yes.
Only because you can trace the transaction of it?
Yes. Right. Because here's what happens, right? How is a Bitcoin born? A Bitcoin is born from this mining.
Right.
Okay. So there's going to be 21 million. Right now there's already 18 million. Okay. So there's 3 more million still coming. Okay. Right. And they get released every 10 minutes in a reward. So you get the password, you get rewarded Bitcoin. I think right now it's like 6.25 Bitcoin. Okay. And every 4 years it gets cut in half. Okay. So like 4 years ago it was like 12.5 Bitcoin.
Every 4 years gets cut in half.
Yes.
The value? Or how much you get per... Okay.
The reward.
Okay.
And again, that's brand new Bitcoin being born.
Right.
Brand new. Okay. So 6.25 right now. In 4 years, it'll be 3.125,
okay.
and so on and so on. In 2140, the last Bitcoin will be mined approximately. Okay. So another 100 years.
Okay.
So what happens is
based on it being mined every 10 minutes.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So we'll get to that in a second. How it happens every 10 minutes. Okay. But we're talking about how a Bitcoin is born. Okay, so Bitcoin is born. This is the miner that guessed the password, right?
Right.
Cool. Here you go. Here's your 6 Bitcoin, right? In order to receive this Bitcoin, this miner has an address, a Bitcoin address. So it goes, okay, cool. Bitcoin came out of nowhere, and now it's in this address.
Got it.
If this miner sends it or sells it or whatever, okay, they're going to send it to another address, right? Another address, and whatever. Again. A Bitcoin can be broken down to 100 million pieces, okay? So it could be like just a little fraction of this, okay? But anyway, the point is that at any point after, you could trace it all the way back. The blockchain is the ledger. It's completely public for everyone to see, okay? So, and again, the way it makes sure that there's only going to be a certain amount of Bitcoin is there's a history from when it was born all the way to where it is now. And it'll continue to be like that, okay?
Okay.
So yeah. So that's the block. When you hear blockchain, it's basically just the ledger.
It's the ledger.
It's everything for every Bitcoin address. So you literally go on the internet and look up like a blockchain search, and if you have an address yourself or you have someone else's Bitcoin address, you can copy and paste it in there, and you can see how much Bitcoin is in there, how much came in, when it came in, how much went out, when it went out, what account it went to, everything is public. So that'll get us to our third point, okay? So we're talking about decentralization. That's where we're at, right? And we're talking about it's essential for it to be decentralized in order for the promises that Bitcoin is making to be kept, right? 21 million. The only way to guarantee that is to make sure no one ever fucking has control. Right. It's never the same person that's picking the transactions, it's never the same person that's holding the whole ledger,
Right.
We're all doing it. We're all doing it. So the third thing is, miners, nodes, coders, okay? These are developers. Now, the Bitcoin code, right? Have you ever seen code before? Just a bunch of text. A bunch of text like written out, okay?
Okay.
Whatever. So the Bitcoin code is completely open source, meaning it's public, just like the blockchain. Everybody can see every single aspect of how it works, okay? So that's why people trust Bitcoin, or they say in Bitcoin, you don't trust, you verify. They trust it because they verified it. They're like, are there any flaws in this system? Are there any backdoors, any holes, whatever? The coders are looking at it and going, no, it's all good, right?
Okay.
So a lot of this stuff was already built into it when it was first launched, okay, Bitcoin. But these coders, they have the ability to offer suggestions for updates.
Okay.
Hey, I've been looking at the code, I've been playing with this aspect of it, and I think if we add this little component here, I think it'll make the system more decentralized. Everything that the community wants is they want everything to be going towards decentralization. The only update they'll ever make is if it makes it more decentralized. Anything that anyone ever suggests that will make it more centralized, they will always fight against. Okay? A very good case is Bitcoin Cash. These transactions, when a miner selects a transaction, they can only select so many.
Okay.
Bitcoin Cash is like, no, we want to make these blocks bigger. We want to be able to take more transactions. so that it's cheaper.
So they make more money?
Yeah, and that it's cheaper to send it too, right? Because there's only so many seats on each block, each page of the blockchain. It can get expensive, right? If a lot of people want to send it, or you have to wait a long time. So like, why don't we just fucking bump up the block size? We'll take more transactions, you know, and it'll be cheaper for everybody, right? So the community thinks about it, and they go, is this going towards centralization or away from centralization? And what the Bitcoin developers came to the conclusion of is, look, if we allow more transactions, it's going to make the blockchain a bigger file size, okay? It's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, okay? You can buy a node, like we were talking about earlier, okay? And when you first plug in your node, it downloads the entire blockchain, okay? It took my node like 2 weeks to download the whole blockchain.
Shit.
Okay. If the blocks were twice as big, it would have taken me 4 weeks. You know, if they were 3 times as big, whatever. You know.
Right.
So they decided, the original Bitcoin community said, we're not going to increase the block size because it's going to make it more difficult for nodes to run and to continue to download every transaction as it's coming through. That may be fine for us here in America, okay? But there's nodes all over the world. And so if we make the block size too big, we're going to reduce the number of nodes, okay? And that's more centralized. So no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to increase the block size, okay? So so that's how it works. It's a consensus, okay? You have to have everybody agree. If everybody doesn't agree, you then have the option to go, this is Bitcoin. I'm going to break off and I'm going to start my own fucking thing, my own ledger, my own blockchain, and it's going to go do its own thing, and Bitcoin will continue doing its thing. So the coders are basically like our engineers, you know, they're looking at the building and they're going like, oh yeah, maybe that thing could be fixed or whatever, you know. But again, anytime any update is proposed, there has to be a consensus. And the biggest thing they're looking at is, does this make us more centralized or less centralized?
Right.
That's their focus. All right, so there's the decentralization. You have the coders who are actually making sure this thing stays intact. And if new threats come about, they can fix the thing, right?
Okay.
You have the miners who are verifying the transactions and competing for the transactions.
Right.
And then you have the nodes that are keeping a copy of all of the
The
records.
ledger, right.
With these altcoins, Doge, Ethereum, whatever, okay? One or more of those components are centralized. Okay? So either it's only like Vitalik and a small group of people who are writing the code for Ethereum, you know? Or they don't have any miners competing to verify the transactions. Okay? Or they don't have a bunch of nodes keeping a copy of the ledger.
Really?
Or all of them. Okay? So
There's no other coin like Bitcoin right now.
Right. I think there are 2 other coins that are decentralized in the same manner that Bitcoin is, except just to a lesser extent. The whole reason why Bitcoin was born, like we discussed earlier, was to be decentralized.
Right.
Okay? So any other coin that isn't decentralized, okay, which is basically all of them, and even the ones that aren't decentralized, like I mentioned, they have way less mining computers, way less electricity. So if somebody wanted to hack it, 25 times easier, 100 times easier to hack it.
Right.
Okay, so it's like, why would you fucking put your money there when you have something that's 100 times more secure?
Right.
Okay,